Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and just so all y'all know, this mailbag was filmed on October 3rd when we went live for the Atlanta Falcons Tampa Bay Buccaneers Thursday Night Football game. If you didn't watch our Thursday Night Live show, personally, I think you are missing out. We go live every single Thursday. We got some crazy stuff going on, and every question and super chat that you see is from that show. Before we get into some of these questions, huge shout out to our sponsor, Panda Subs. They are keeping me awake and hydrated tonight. And if you're like me, you got to get some BCAAs, you want some fat burners, or their protein is right now is no doubt one of my favorite things on the market. Use code Raiders for 20% off at pandasubs.com. That link is going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. Let's go to PatrickB, who's never afraid to bang. If you don't know what that B stands for, you're not a real one. Mitch, I think the offense may be smoother without Adams requiring his 10-plus targets. The team always seemed like a family until other than number 17. Now, what's kind of interesting is there's been some reports out there, have not been able to confirm them, that apparently a few Raiders players actually talked to Davante Adams about, hey, it's a lot bigger than just you. We are a team nonetheless. But I will also agree with you in the idea of, if I'm building a football team, I'm never taking a receiver that's got the skill set of Davante Adams and putting him on our current squad that we have. Do I think Davante is the most talented offensive player on our team? Yes, I absolutely do. But Davante doesn't want to go out there and block. We need a wide receiver, every single one of them, that's not afraid to go out there and block. When you look at some of the tape, you can tell that Tay has absolutely wants nothing to do with certain running plays and what have you. I think the other part of it is this. We got to get 11 guys on the exact same mission, and we don't have to force feed Tay anymore. I think it just creates a lot more confusion all around the football field. I'm not going to say that we're a better offense without Davante Adams. I'm going to say that we might be a better team on offense without Davante Adams. Let's go to Taino. Any player moves, IR, active, out? Today, not so much. There was a lot of players on the injury report on Thursday. One player came back, Isaiah Polamau. I know there was some speculation on whether or not he was healthy. I know not everybody has the opportunity to watch every show that I do, but Isaiah Polamau missed practice on Wednesday for the birth of his first son, which I think, or first kid, I don't know if it's a boy or girl, which we can all agree is more than okay to be able to miss a practice. Trey Taylor, he's going to be playing, from what I understand, for the first time this week. He was been on the short-term IR. Maxx Crosby, I'm hoping that we see him out there. Also, if anybody sees anything from Michael Lombardi today was talking some BS about Maxx and the Raiders not getting along. Lombardi said Maxx was dealing with a hamstring injury. Here's the thing, man. If you haven't seen this yet, go on my Twitter at MitchellRentz365. Somebody needs to go communicate with Pat McAfee and say, Pat, you need to do a better job of getting these guys to come on your show. Because if you're going to have Lombardi talk about the Raiders, somebody who hates the Raiders because he was fired by Al Davis, his son was just fired by Mark Davis, having Lombardi step on a show is asking like Donald Trump to run for Democratic Party. Nothing that he says, it makes any sense. Bottom line is this. When Michael Lombardi talks, we need to start getting that guy a butt plug because all he does is talk out of his ass. Let's go to Jam and Raider. Mitch, is Michael Mayer going to be traded? Oh, boy. This is a heavy question. Now, here's how I'll answer it. I feel bad because I keep saying I don't want to speculate, but I'm somebody that I feel like I'm good at reading body language. And I also feel like I'm somebody that is really bad at lying. I am a horrific liar. It's why Alex always laughs at me when I try to, make jokes or something like that. She'll look in my face. But one of the things that I noticed about Antonio Pierce, go back and watch that press conference on Wednesday, right? Go back and watch that press conference on Wednesday. Look how Antonio Pierce answers every question about Davante Adams. Then look at how he answers every single question about, like, Trey Tucker, Tyreek McAllister, all those guys. And then look how he answers questions about Michael Mayer. His body language with Mayer and Davante is the exact same. It's, I don't want to talk about this. I'm very uncomfortable. Everything else, he's very animated. And I'm a very animated person, too. So to me, I feel like he's very uncomfortable talking about Mayer. And I got a text message last week that said, watch out for Mayer to be traded. The fact that he's still dealing with personal issues the week after the business decision comment, I'm going to say this right now. Davante Adams is going to get traded next week, and I don't think Michael Mayer is that far off. I would be surprised if Mayer is a Raider by the end of the NFL trade deadline unless the situation gets better. So how about this? We're going to make this the pinned comment here on today's show. Will Michael Mayer be traded this year? Give me a yes. give me a no. My answer coming up after this YouTube ad break. I'm going to say right now there is a 75% chance that Michael Mayer is traded if this situation does not resolve itself. Now, if it was up to me, I would try to figure out a way to make Mayer happy, and I know that replacing Davante Adams is not really something that's going to be an easy situation to do. I understand that. If it was up to me, I would put Brock Bowers out there as your kind of like a wide receiver, almost put him in like the Jacoby Myers role, put Jacoby in the Davante Adams role, and then if you're going to run 2 tight end sets, use Michael Mayer, use Harrison Bryant. I still want to see Trey Tucker. I still want to see DJ Turner, but to me, Mayer is talented enough, and he's too talented to just let him walk out the door. Now, maybe he feels a certain type of way because he's not getting the work that he originally thought, but I think right now, Mayer's got to look at himself in the mirror and go, instead of me pouting and not getting playing time, how about I try to go out there and outperform Brock Bowers? Because I know he probably wasn't happy that Bowers was drafted, but Bowers makes our team better, and quite frankly, Bowers is one of the best tight ends in the NFL right away. Mayer should be working a little bit harder to get out there on the field because the reason why he's not playing right now is blocking. Harrison Bryant's out there playing because he's not afraid to block. If you want to be a tight end 2 in the NFL, if you want to be a tight end in the NFL, you got to learn to block, Mayer. This right now, these players, it kind of grinds my gears a little bit, and it's kind of goes back to these college kids that are, wanting to leave a college because of NIL deals, or they want to leave because there's competition. Everybody wants to have everything handed to them. In real life, you don't have things handed to you. You got to go out there. You got to work a little bit harder. When you go and talk to a player like Maxx Crosby, a guy that nobody wanted him, no college wanted him. He went to Eastern Michigan, had to put in the time, had to put in the work brick by brick. Now he's one of the best players in the NFL. Sometimes guys want way too much handed to them. And if this is the case with Michael Mayer, then I don't know if I even want him on my team. If you want videos every single day around the Las Vegas Raiders, we got wall-to-wall coverage, baby. I'm talking to the window, to the wall, to the sweat drops off Collins balls. Hit that subscribe button. We got videos every single day here on the Raiders Report. Let's go to Matias. What's up, bro? Do you think that the Jets would give a first-round pick for Davante Adams still? I do not think that the Raiders are going to get a first-round pick. Quite frankly, I know the Raiders said that they would not trade with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the only way you're getting a first-round pick for Davante is if you trade with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm hoping right now for a second, maybe a fourth-round pick. We know that Davante wants to play for the New York Jets. What we really need to happen is for a team like Buffalo, for a team like the Saints, for a team like the Steelers or whoever to kind of up that price with New York. The real key team, though, is the Buffalo Bills. Because if I'm Buffalo, I don't want Davante to go to Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. Let's go to Josh I. What's up, my guy? So who are some top prospects to watch for next year's draft class? To me right now, I've only been watching quarterbacks. And I've watched a lot of quarterbacks this season already, and I'm just going to keep going with my top 5 QBs. So entering the NFL season, or entering the college football season, I said my top 5 quarterbacks in this order entering this year for the Silver and Black were number 1, Cam Ward. Number 2, Jalen Milroe. Number 3, Carson Beck. Number 4, Quinn Ewers. Number 5, Shedeur Sanders. Now, my rankings would be 1, Cam Ward, 2, Jalen Milroe. I would split Shedeur and Beck at number 3, and then there at the last one is Quinn Ewers. But I'm watching QBs, dude. We could talk about everything that we want to talk about with this team. At the end of the day, if you don't have a quarterback, it's really, really hard to compete in the NFL. It's even harder to win in the AFC West. Now, we got some more questions coming up here on today's show. If you haven't already, make sure you guys click that like button. And if you haven't checked out Panda Subs, you really, really need to. They got some amazing workout supplements. I'm talking BCAAs for a little bit of hydration, hot summer day. You just get done working out. I mean, half the battle is getting up and motivating yourself to go to the gym. Then when you go to the gym, why not get the most out of your workout? And I've had to explain what protein, BCAAs, what some of that stuff does. I've explained it to my dad like this. My dad's a car guy. He's works with his hands a lot. Using BCAAs and using protein is like putting oil in your car. It's just going to make your body work a lot better. So when you get done with a workout, it's important to get some of those BCAAs in you. It's important to get the protein in you. It's the building blocks, all those aminos, is how you end up building better muscle. So it's like if you're going to go into the gym and you're going to put in that time and effort, why not do the easy part and get the most out of your workout? I mean, imagine if you're like, all right, I'm going to go to the gym, and when I go to the gym, I'm going to lose 2 pounds every day. It might not sound like a lot, but it might add up over time. Now, imagine if I told you if you use Panda Subs, you're like, I'll lose 3 pounds every day. What would you do? All you got to do is just drink it. It's pretty simple, right? Protein, BCAAs, fat burners, they have all sorts of stuff. PandaSubs.com, code Raiders. Links available to you all down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. If you watch Thursday Night Football, then you definitely need to get started with some Panda Subs. Let's go to Suavemente himself. What does Alexander Mattison have to prove to be RB1? He just has to show up on Sunday. Alexander Mattison is already the Raiders' RB1. He is already going to be the main back. Now, this is even before the case, before Zamir White injured his groin. With Zeus right now with an injured groin, I don't really think that you're going to see him out there this week. Quite frankly, it doesn't bother me at all, and I feel shitty for saying that, but the less I got to see Zamir White on a football field right now, probably the better. The more that means I get to see Mattison. If it was up to me, and let's say you just had overall 100% of touches for the running back spot, I'm giving Mattison probably 80% of those touches this week. I would give Amir Abdullah 15, and then maybe, just maybe, if you trust Dylan Lowby on the road in the AFC West game, you could look at that. I would be a little hesitant there. I want to see the Raiders use their wide receivers again in that running game. Let's go to Trust the Process Nation. Did you see the report that the Bills and Chiefs are in the mix for Davante? Yeah, there was one that came out actually this morning from Diana Rossini, which, again, I think Diana does a really solid job. It's just, I think also Diana reports everything that she's told, and I can't blame her because, again, it's her job. But there are some times where people get reports that are just blatantly, clearly not going to end up being true or the case. I do not see the Chiefs being involved in this. I do see the Bills being involved, but I got a question for you. And I was talking about the chats with the Chat Sports guys about this. If the Kansas City Chiefs offered the Raiders a first-round pick and a second, so you get back the draft capital, essentially, that you gave up for Davante Adams, but you got to trade Tay to the Kansas City Chiefs, would you do it? It's an interesting question. I know this might hurt y'all's feelings, maybe hurt some people's feelings. I know it's FKC, but we also got to start looking out for our best interests as well. If you got a first and a second for Davante and you just had to give him to Kansas City, not going to lie, shit, I would do it. Let's go to Countin' Pennies. Countin' Pennies is a wild name, man. Do you guys need a store coffee runner? Antonio Pierce is going to need a job next year. He might need a job. I don't really know. I'll say this, I'm going to hope that he doesn't need a job, because if Antonio Pierce doesn't need a job, that means that we made the playoffs. If the Raiders don't make the playoffs and we still don't have a franchise quarterback, if I want the Raiders to draft Jalen Milroe and I want the Raiders to draft Cam Ward, I don't trust Antonio Pierce and this current staff to have either of those QBs. Either option A, AP hires the best OC humanly possible and you go get your guy, or, real talk, you just bring in somebody like a Ben Johnson and let him cook with one of those young quarterbacks as your head coach. Let's go to Ron. What's up, man? Why the hell haven't we extended our guy Spillane? I don't know, dude. I have absolutely no idea. And I want to pay players. Can we all come to an agreement? I want to pay guys that want to be here. Robert Spillane, the moment he has stepped onto that field, has been almost like Maxx Crosby's mini-me. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way at all. I mean it in the most respectful way possible. Robert Spillane is not as talented. He's not as gifted. He's not as good as Maxx Crosby. But that mentality, that Raider mentality, that captain, that first guy there, last guy to leave mentality, that's what Robert Spillane brings to the table. He's the quarterback of that defense. He's got the green dot. And one of my favorite things that I saw Spillane do this week, with all the BS going on around this team, with all the bullshit going on right now around the silver and black, that Wednesday practice, guess who that one player is? Maxx wasn't out there, so he's got a high ankle sprain. Davante Adams, all the drama. The one guy that went around and shook the hand of every player, every staff member, every single person at practice. His name, Robert Spillane. If I'm the Raiders right now, I know he's 29 years old, I am inking that guy to a deal. Why? I want Robert Spillane and Maxx Crosby together, tied at the hip. Crosby's got 2 years after this season, so 3 years technically left on his deal. Spillane is technically a free agent after this year. If Crosby and Spillane are together, our defense will be successful. That I can guarantee you. Let's go to Braun Julius Jr. We know Tay is going to get traded. What's best case scenario for next season? I don't really see how these tie together. Yeah, Tay's going to get traded, and I think it's going to be the New York Jets next week, which just kind of goes back to all the reports that Davante time and time again said, oh, I'm not going to do this. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Turns out everything ended up being true. So, Tay, I don't know if you're just lying through your teeth or you really, truly did not know. I would say best case scenario for next season is we get a franchise quarterback. And, a lot of times people throw out the names of like Matt Stafford or whatever, veteran quarterback. The way that you build a good team is you build through the draft. That's why I get so pissed off when people are like, oh, let's bring back John Gruden. You trust John Gruden to be able to rebuild through the draft? No, you don't. I want Cam Ward. I want Jalen Milroe. To me, that's best case scenario. Those are the two quarterbacks that I really, truly believe could turn this thing around for Las Vegas. And there's always downside with every guy that you look at. But to me, best case scenario is Cam Ward. I was ecstatic when the Raiders fired Josh McDaniels. I was here on the ecstatic level. If the Raiders draft Cam Ward, I'm right there, man. So how about this? Comment down below. If the Raiders draft a quarterback, who do you want it to be? And it can go Shador, Quinn, Carson, Milroe, Cam Ward. Is there other quarterbacks that I'm not mentioning right now? I've had a lot of people say Jackson Dart. I've been doing a lot, and I mean a lot of tape study on a lot of QBs. Now, I've been doing it mainly with the top guys. I'm kind of a top guy. You know what I mean. If the Raiders could draft a QB, who would you want it to be? Let me know down below. Let's go to Dylan. You're next up here, or Dexter, excuse me. I can't read. If we get a late first or early second from Adams, what do you think about getting Ashton Genty from Boise? This is how I keep answering this question. I think that this guy is a top 10 running back in the NFL right now. Right now, you put him on an NFL roster, he's a top 10 running back. He is a phenomenal, phenomenal back. But we got to look at Ashton Genty as a luxury pick in a sense. You got to get a quarterback. You got to get an offensive line before you look for a running back. The way that I would explain it to my fiance, Alex, is we're trying to save up for a wedding. Don't get me wrong. That's tough to do. If it was up to me, we would take a lot of that money we're using for our wedding. I'm excited to get married, but I would use it towards a house. And the house is the quarterback, right? Let's say the offensive line is the wedding. Then I'm like, you know what? I really want a fancy car. That's a running back. Out of all those things that I just mentioned right now in my life, the one that is the least important is probably the car, because I can also walk to work. My point is he is a phenomenal back, but we got to be able to allocate our picks, and we got to try to go get a quarterback because we're really just wasting our time. If you have QBs like Aiden, Gardner, if you have QB like Jimmy G, Brian Hoyer, and I know a lot of y'all like DC, having a quarterback like DC even right now in the NFL, you are wasting your season away. Until you get somebody that can legitimately go out there and compete, and I mean compete, you're wasting your time. Let's go get ourselves a franchise quarterback. Let's go to Zach. How about Manning? The problem with Manning is he can't come out until the 2026 draft, and there's been some reports that he might even stay into college a little bit longer than that. The Manning family wants Arch to get an education, and they have said on the Pat McAfee show that they're okay with him staying at school. Like, you're talking about a family where a guy doesn't need money. Arch Manning doesn't need any money. They have plenty of money in that family. Now, do you always want to do best for you? Absolutely. But also, if you listen to some of the reports there around Arch, he went to Texas for Sarkisian, and he went to Texas to help build him up. That way, when he gets to the NFL, he doesn't go through the woes like his uncles. So I think that's a big learning curve where you have two NFL QBs, two Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Eli's getting in because of the 2 Super Bowls, and they have talked about their struggles in year one and how they felt like they could have used a little bit of extra time at college football. If you know you got all the money in the world in the bank, and you go, well, what if I just stay at college 1 more year and perfect my craft? Why the hell would you not potentially do that? And it would not surprise me if Arch doesn't come out until 2027, unless he is just so clearly, and I mean so clearly, the number 1 overall pick. Now, we got a lot of people tuned in right now to Thursday Night Football, and if you're not watching this show live, man, you better pull up next week because we have a lot of fun on Thursday nights. Also, speaking of pulling up, y'all better pull up Sunday. Raiders, Broncos. I'm going to be going live at 3 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be doing a sick jersey giveaway. We're going to be having a lot of fun, and we're going to get a dub. I feel it in my loins. You feel that right now? I want you to feel your loins right now, and you're like, that feels like a win. That feels like a win in Mile High. The Raiders have won 8 straight. Let's make it 9. You got to go all the way back to December 29th, 2019. I don't know how many days that is since that day, but that's how many days it's been since the Broncos have beaten the Raiders. They have never beaten the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday. I'd like to keep it that way.